those damn Orinco trucks.
Dad!
Shit.
Dad!
We can't let Ellie see this.
Nobody knows what that place is, what happens in that stony ground. But the soil of a man's heart is stonier, Lewis. What we did last night, we did for Ellie. Well, that's your cat now.
Daddy,
Yeah?
close the door all the way. I don't want church coming in anymore.
As a kid, you don't have that sense of the finality of death. I didn't know what a zombie was. I didn't know about, resurrection. When you're a kid, you don't know about Lazarus, rising from the dead. And you don't know that this is a theme that runs through a lot of historic literature. And so I don't think that part of it resonated probably for me as a kid. What you really think about is your cat. I had a cat who got hit by a car, and, I found him on the side of my house dead and stiff and all of that. So from that experience, it's sort of resonated. And I think as a kid, you probably think it's a book about a cat.
God! The most challenging thing on a movie set, when you read a cat in a script, people go, oh my gosh, why would you do that? Well, you know what? It just takes time. Dennis and Kevin, the directors of this project, they're under demands. They got to get it done, and they're relying on us to get it done. What I'm relying on them is to give this the environment to do it in. And keeping a quiet, non-ruffled set is essential.
The cats are on set, and everyone would get quiet, and all of a sudden they'd come in with the cat. And you would always have to let the cat out of the cat carrier, and the cat would have to approve the set. Remember that? So the cat would always walk around and sniff the whole set, and everyone just had to shut up and just kind of, like a diva, let the cat do his own thing. And then once the cat was like, all right, I'm okay with this room, then and only then could you proceed. To see how well the cats were treated, they had something called, was it Cat Village?
Yeah.
And it was this giant circus that they had set up for the cats where they had their own trailer. I mean, they were treated better than the main cast was.
It is a challenge working with cats, but it actually was way easier than I thought it was going to be, because going in, I didn't think you could train a cat.
On your bed. Down. Good boy.
I can't get my cats to do anything. They scratch, the furniture, and I can't get them to stop. But
we can't train them, so I don't know how they do it.
So I just always believed you couldn't train cats.
It is relationship-based training, so we form a solid relationship of trust so that we can take them into environments that can be somewhat intimidating at first, like sets. And when they trust us, then it helps them overcome their fears. And cognition is decreased with stress. So when you use food, relationship, positive reinforcement, as in play, toys, then the cats enjoy the work. The other element of positive reinforcement training is training for the makeup. Lindsay spent 2 months teaching the cats to feel comfortable with grooming and bathing. And we do that with positive association. So day 1, trickle a little bit of water while they're eating. Every day they get a little more water, a little more makeup, until it's not a big deal for the cats. And that way they can go through makeup and they can go through baths, and this is not something that we're surprising them with.
And you really can't tell, I find, the difference between the 5 cats once you're in makeup.
All the cats have a different personality, so what we do is we run with their personalities. Tonic is the smart cat, being the busy, active, cute, super intelligent guy. He's the pre-grave church. And then we have the post-grave church based on their personalities and their looks. Yep. Quiet, calm, kitties that like to stare, that like to sit, and those are our out-of-the-grave cats.
That's a good boy. Yes, that's a good boy.
You got 5 cats, 5 different personalities, and you take all those pieces and you put together one awesome character.
Yeah.
Ellie really loved that cat, didn't she?
Yep, more than anything.
And you love Ellie.
Of course I do.
So follow me.
Both the pet cemetery and the deadfall, that's all here on location. So that part of the path and journey is very real. That's all real material. Then we transition into the sound stage.
In the book and in that iconic chapter where they go to Bury Church, and the burial ground, you definitely feel a difference between when you're on one side of the deadfall and when you're on the other side of the deadfall. The woods is starting to get darker and creepier and more ancient. We wanted to have a look for that. We wanted to have a division to where the audience could actually aesthetically feel that. They could actually like see that change happening. So it just made sense to say, you know what? Everything on the previous side of the deadfall we'll really shoot in actual woods, on location, behind the house we were shooting at. But once they go over the deadfall, we'll shoot that on a stage.
In the stage, we've got a variety of petrified forests, swamps, very large kind of mountainous faces, the stone steps that lead up to the burial ground and the burial ground itself.
Almost to the bog.
But we were like, you gotta get the swamp in the movie, you know? The swamp wasn't in the first film, we have to have it, we have to get it in this film. And we understand why it wasn't in the first film. It's hard, we had to build a water set in the stage. And then we had to make it look as big as we possibly could. But we always liked the idea that the swamp is almost kind of like a moat that was sort of like protecting this hidden mountain. Like, you not only had to know where it was, you had to like tread through about a half a mile swamp to even get to it. So those are the things you have to fight for. You know, they're visually stunning and interesting, but you know, sometimes they want you to make it as simple as possible. You know, a very linear way to get there. And we always loved the idea of this long journey.
What was that?
You know, like you're entering into Bavaria, you know, and you're going to see Dracula. It's got to really feel like a journey into this heart of darkness.
It was a big deal to decide to build this all on stage, to build the woods, the bog. We could have, I guess, gone out and found these locations, but this is a magical place in the book and in our story, and to be able to control the lighting and the rigging of all this stuff ended up being really important to us. And so we embarked on this 6-week build of this on this stage for basically 3 days of photography.
The pet cemetery through to the ancient burial ground, that, you know, integration of using a location and a built set to try to depict that journey and make it believable, but also feel a little bit amplified, is always a tricky balance. But the crew I had saw what we were trying to depict and were able to interpret it very accurately.
You know, you come in there and you see what they can do, and it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I've been around a lot of film sets, a lot of big films, and this is a wonderful set. And when the lights come in, the smoke come in, and the wood and the smell, and you can see a lot of the detail, the little mushrooms they've got growing on the side, or the scratchings from beasts that have been in there. It's the detail's fantastic.
One of the changes that we thought very long and hard about when we discussed what we would keep from the original book and what we would change was the idea of not having Gage be the child who dies and comes back from the graveyard.
One of the earliest things I said was, I think that the child who gets killed should be Ellie. And I said, let's play it right up to the moment where people who have read the book, you know, think, oh, your Gage is gonna get it, and then flip it, and then no, it's Ellie.
Thinking about it as we developed the script, what really helped us make such a strong story is the relationship that Lewis has with his daughter, Ellie. That father-daughter relationship felt like a place where the audience could really invest in the family before we start to pull things apart.
Because she's older, because Lewis and Rachel have such more of a deeper connection to her. She's at that point, you know, of being, you know, a young girl who's just really starting to become a friend. So you become that much more invested in it. So I thought it was a great choice, I really did. You know, and also the fact that on a practical standpoint, you can get much more out of a performance, you know, with an 8 or 9 year old girl than you can with a 2-year-old child.
Ellie was the character that was leading a lot of the themes in this movie. There's a lot of early on scenes in the movie where she's talking about death with her parents or wondering about when her pet's gonna die. And it just seemed that in the end, she should be the one carrying us through that arc to its completion.
We have a big 18-wheeler accident with the Orenco truck. It's a combination, it's a great effort of different departments, from stunts, having a really good stunt driver for 18-wheeler. We have this gentleman called Rod Bell from Toronto. He's a very experienced driver, especially for big loads. And then we have our effects crew from Montreal, Louis Craig, and also visual effects from Mr. X. So it's a great combination of those department, along with a second director, Paul Jennings, and then all these creative minds getting together to make it happen, make it safe. The tanker flipping, that's a separate deal on its own. That has to be photographed, you know, on an empty road, obviously, making it safe again. Mostly done through special effects, where cables are involved, you know, trucks towing in order to make it flip the way the directors wants it to flip, and then land and slide to an end position.
I love tragic elements in horror movies. I love horror movies that deal with domestic issues, you know, like even The Exorcist, just about a family and a daughter and a mother spiraling out of control while she's trying to save her daughter. The Shining is about a family falling apart, alcoholism, abuse, you know, claustrophobia. So I think horror movies that deal with people are always very interesting.
It's relatability, really. I mean, because horror movies based on fear, so it's really, you know, tapping into fears that we all have, you know, things that are within us and things that we deal with in our lives, like how Pet Sematary is a horror movie about grief, you know, really just making horror about things that we all experience, the fears that we all have, things that we could relate to in our lives.
I know what you're thinking you're doing, Louis, but she won't come back the same.
I think for any viewer, facing mortality as a human being is something we all go through as we grow up. And the flip side of the fear of our own dying is a loved one that dies, and how far are you willing to go? And are you willing to believe in something that goes completely against your belief system or faith? So for even someone like Louis, who's an atheist, he believes in the periodic table of the elements and the laws of thermodynamics, the Hippocratic Oath, but he clearly buys into this. So somebody who has a science-based belief system is even willing to continue down this path.
You cannot imagine the things people can convince themselves of. And that's exactly Louis. He's making a decision that on one level doesn't make sense, on another level makes total sense. And that's sort of the nature of tragedy, you know? It's something so deeply rooted in us.
I think this film goes beyond, or the story goes beyond horror. I mean, it goes into a deeper level of what true horror is. I mean, this man, it's Frankenstein. If you create the monster, or if you bring the monster to life, what happens then if the monster has consciousness and has, you know, it's like AI or something, isn't it? But it's very human to hope. It's just one of those human things, isn't it? You hope that it'll be okay. And it's very human, it's very natural, and that's why I think it's very easy to go with Louis until you see what the full weight of his responsibility is.
Daddy. Where am I?
Oh, my little girl. Oh, you're home.
Oh.